And welcome to Just One More Watch. If this is your first time here, a special hello just for you. My name is Jody, I love watches, and I would love it if you subscribe to the channel by hitting the big button with the word subscribe on it. This is actually a bit of a twist today on an ongoing series that I do here called
Epic Dial Typos.
Fairly straightforward premise. I find a normally cheap Chinese watch from AliExpress that has one or more truly awful spelling mistakes or errors on the dial and mock it mercilessly. Today it's top 10 worst brand names on watches that I could find. Big shout out to a subscriber called John. He sent me an email last week with a list. His list combined with my list equals a good 10. There is scope for more though. If I have missed your favourite bad brand name, please leave me a comment. Maybe I'll make another top 10 worst watch brand names video in the future. Now I have a general rule: if I can't pronounce it, I don't review it, because if I can't pronounce it, then I don't expect you to buy it or wear it, because I wouldn't if it was me. And there are some brand names here that are unpronounceable. They would make a decent score in a Scrabble game, but they should never feature on one's wrist. Now there are some brands that I'm going to talk about here that have attempted to rebrand. They've tried to fix the problem, but they've only succeeded in making things worse. And I know why. One brand, who will remain nameless, sent me a list of potential rebrand names, and you know what? Most of them are utter garbage. These are pre-registered and trademarked in China and offered out to these companies, coming soon to an AliExpress brand near you, I'm sure. Alright, there's some horror shows on offer, let's get on with it. Let's start with one of my personal favourites, Bobo Bird, available on AliExpress and elsewhere. The logo isn't awful, cute little bird, Bobo Bird, but then again, you don't really want cute on your wrist, do you? Certainly not if you're a gentleman purchasing a watch. And then you find out that they sell wooden watches. I have never bought, owned or reviewed a wooden watch. Frankly, I don't think there's enough money in the known universe that would encourage me to buy, own and review a wooden watch, especially not when they are this ugly. Even uglier still, and oh my god, my eyes, get it away from me. Those things are absolutely horrendous. But the company, I suppose, at least does have some honourable, worthwhile environmental pretensions. Wood is sustainable after all, and they're saying that they're going to plant one tree for every watch sold. 1 million trees. Hang on a minute though, that's 1 million trees they would like to plant by 2030. And hang on another minute, aren't they just planting trees to replace the trees that they cut down to make their horrendous wooden watches with? Just say no to Bobo Bird. Number 2 on today's list is a double whammy. It's a brand that has tried to rebrand and I think only made things worse. It is Neymar / Bulwarks. I looked at a couple of Neymar watches back at 2018, 2019, and they were fairly solid, if uninspiring, Rolex alikes, made by the Shaolin Bolin Shenzhen watch company or something similar. Now, Neymar may not mean much to you if you live in North America, out with the worldwide reach of soccer. Football. Neymar is a Brazilian footballer currently playing for Paris Saint-Germain, and he is one of the world's most notorious divers and play actors. So I suppose a range of dive watches named after Neymar wasn't a bad idea to begin with. Apparently during the 2018 World Cup he spent no less than 14 minutes writhing around pretending to be in agony on the grass rather than actually playing football. Perhaps sales weren't good, perhaps somebody pointed out the Neymar Association, so they rebranded as BLWRX. Are they trying to go for some kind of Rolex thing here? Is that why the X's were included? I don't know. They just never worked for me as a brand thereafter. I preferred Neymar, to be honest. I did review 2 of them before I gave up on them though. The first I managed to include the Sex Pistols Never Mind the Bulwarks style thumbnail. The second time I reviewed them I decided they were in fact a load of bulwarks. One thing I noticed on their website though, a particularly cheeky bit of photoshopping. This is a picture of 2 cars in a race that, according to the stickers on top of the windscreen, are sponsored by BLWRX watch. but I don't think they are. That is Bathurst, the most famous race circuit in Australia, and I did a bit of Googling. I traced both of these cars back to the 2017 12-hour race where they were in fact sponsored by Liqui Moly and not BLWRX. Naughty, naughty Bulwarks. Next up is a brand simply called Brake. Now I must admit I don't speak any Chinese, but I do know how to operate an online dictionary. If they had looked up the word brake in an online English dictionary, they would have realised that it was not something they wanted to associate their range of admittedly cheap and boring looking watches with, that will most probably do exactly what it says on the dial within the space of a few short weeks. Next up at number 4, it's a watch brand called Selflover. I kid you not. I've been aware of Selflover watches for the last couple of years. I spotted them on AliExpress one day. Apparently Selflove is available in a variety of different colours. Now I appeared on an online game show with fellow YouTubers Dave, Alton and Shane, and Dave unfortunately lost the quiz that day, so part of his punishment was to post the picture of the Selflover watch on Instagram. It seems that these Selflover watches are no longer available. Perhaps they got a run on them after Dave posted his picture. But the Moo Moo watch store seems to have branched out into some rather unusual sidelines. Perhaps if you've finished loving yourself, you buy a pair of these undies for $3. Look, if you buy your undies on AliExpress, that's up to you. But if you buy your undies for $2 on AliExpress, the only loving you'll be getting is self-loving. Next up at number 5, it's Pagani Design and their various failed attempts to rebrand. You know Pagani Design by now. I have reviewed a bunch of them on the channel. Ridiculous value, zero originality. I often refer to them as Pagani photocopying. I think design is a bit of a misnomer in the first place. A whole bunch of Rolex alike and Omega alike and Tag alike watches for not a lot of cash. Pagani Design though unfortunately cannot sell their watches in Europe with Pagani Design on the dial because Pagani supercars have got the right to sell Pagani watches. It's all due to trademarks. So what do? Easy. You sell the same watches but with a different brand on the dial, don't you? And what brand do you pick? Pagani Design. Pagani. Honestly, I have been offered these watches before. I have refused to review these watches because, like I said, if I cannot pronounce it, then I am not prepared to review it. What a disaster. What were they thinking? Well, their thinking apparently gets worse than that. Pagani Design clearly hasn't worked for them. So how about this third attempt at rebranding? Subjugation. Subjugation! Again, a quick glance at an English online dictionary would have told them that subjugating is enslavement. Oh, the irony. And this is not just a mock-up either, by the way. There are production units of that watch available for sale on the internet if you look hard enough. And like I said, I think I know why some of these brands fail so badly to brand in the first place and then fail with their attempts to rebrand. And it's because they are offered these pre-trademarked names and logos that don't make any sense. Check out these, for example. Some fantastic options there, I'm sure you'll admit. I particularly like Moravvice at the top and Shitty. Actually, Shitty. Pre-trademarked, ready to use in China. On the second option list here, my favourites are down the bottom. Buroda, a brand, actually got in touch with me and said, hey Jody, what do you think of us rebranding to Buroda? And Jan Rocky at the very bottom. On to the third page, and where do I even begin here? How's about Kairli Wuduf and Umi Bojue, which sounds like a small village in Nigeria to me. Padabensis sounds like a disease, and Urji down at the bottom. Perhaps if you are a self-lover and wear these pants, you're a regular attendee at Urji's. You get the idea, a terrible selection of names, I'm sure some of which will appear on a watch near you soon. Next up, it's a watch brand more suited to a game of Scrabble than one's wrist. It's Fingerne. If you look at the logo, it doesn't make any sense. If you zoom in on the logo, it makes even less sense. Fashion Watches says in 1853, again, not only did they get the logo wrong, the brand name wrong, but they got the tagline wrong as well. And the watches themselves are nothing to write home about, just the general cheap and shiny AliExpress stuff that I don't even bother reviewing. It looks like they have revised the logo in recent years though. This one, for example, on the Aquaterra alike is not awful, the logo's not awful, unfortunately the brand name is still pretty awful. At number 7, it's another collection of letters. It's I genuinely don't know how to pronounce it. I know what you're thinking, Jody, isn't there something going on here with Roman numerals? Well, yes, L, X and I are Roman numerals, but G and E have nothing to do with Rome at all, so it's just L, G, X, I, G, E, utter rubbish, much like their watches. At numbers 8, 9 and 10, there's a bit of a recurring theme happening. I wonder if you can guess what it is. Starting at number 8, it's Wacomwancher. Yeah, you really have to be careful how you pronounce these two, don't you? Wacomwancher, nothing special here at all, nothing we haven't seen 100 times before elsewhere. Wancher seem to have a bit more going for them. I can't even say the word without laughing. They're a Japanese micro brand doing, yeah, okay, 8110 homages, but they've got some reasonable looking fleegers, and thankfully these dream ones which don't feature the brand name on the dial. But most of the rest of them do, including these odd motorbike style ones with the angled casing. I wouldn't be touching either of these brands. They just mark you out as a bit of a wancher. And at number 9, it is the original Chinese kings of the photocopier. These guys, I'm sure, were Pagani Design's inspiration when they started. It's Parnis. I've only reviewed one Parnis on the channel. I've always thought it was just a little bit too close to something else. You know what I mean. Yeah, so a range of value pack watches that look a lot like other watches, but they also look a lot like they have the word penis written on the dial, don't they? Which is why I have only reviewed one of them. No matter how good the value is, no matter how well made they are, I just can't take the brand seriously, I'm afraid. Talking of not being able to take a brand seriously because of its name, at number 10, it's the only micro brand on today's list. It's Crestico. These guys got in touch with me towards the end of 2019 about a review, so almost 2 years ago. The watch itself looked okay, as you can see here, slightly kind of generic dive style, but looked pretty reasonable, and it was well priced. I just couldn't take them seriously because of the name, and apparently they had lodged that name with Kickstarter. They had to carry on with it. I'm not sure how well it did in the end. There are a few reviews of this one elsewhere on YouTube. Did you buy a Crestico? Did you join that particular Kickstarter campaign? If so, please leave me a message and tell me if the watch was any good. Looking at their website today though, it seems thankfully they have rebranded to Crestic, but they're still trying to sell old stock Crestico branded GMTs for $4,500. I really hope those are Hong Kong dollars that they're referring to. So there you have it, well done for finishing the video. Were they the worst 10 watch brand names in history or what? If I missed any, please leave me a comment. I would love to have another crack at this video. If you like this style of content, why not check out Epic Dial Typos 2 and 3. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.